Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And hi, Sally. Wonderful, Sally. How are you?
Hello, Harry. When Harry met Sally, how are you? Beautiful.
I'm good. I'm
Now,
good.
Harry,
Feeling good.
I've got a question for you. What's this?
That is a glass of Melbourne water, and I hope you've passed it through the water filter.
I have.
But I think it's a little bit over half full.
Mm.
Yeah, I think you need to drink a bit more. You do need to drink a bit more, Sal.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Now, we can look at that and we can say, actually, if you put your hand on it and tip it upside down, put your hand on the top, tip it upside down. Oh, come on, you can do it, girl.
Oh.
You can do it.
Oh.
That is so funny.
Oh, no, I've got wet notes. Wet pants.
That's how you check. That's how you check if your glass is half full.
That's right. I've got wet pants. Oh, dear. Well, it ties in very well with our topic.
That is funny. So we're gonna talk about optimism today.
Yeah.
And Sally held up the glass to show that you can look at a glass which is half full, and you can look at it as it's half full or half empty. You've got a choice. But important to make sure your hand's bigger than the glass.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, I am sopping wet. Yes.
So I had an experience on Thursday. I was telling you, we had a funeral to go to on the weekend. Brother-in-law. That kind of rocked me a bit. And I went to fill up the car for the trip down to Melbourne, and I put petrol in the diesel, which isn't good. And then, I'm pretty smart bloke. I then drove at 10k just
to test it. Were you driving the car down to Melbourne?
I was going to.
Oh.
No, it was the day before.
Right.
So I came to my senses, called the mechanic, called the tow truck, and then we went down to Melbourne in my wife's car. But what was good was that I didn't think about what could have happened.
Yep.
I just left it. I've got a good mechanic. It's going to be okay.
Yep.
And I made the choice. I made the choice to be an optimist, not to worry about it. So that was good. Maybe 10 years ago, I would have made a different choice.
Yep.
But, what I did was I paused in the situation. I paused.
Yep.
And then I pondered my choices, and then I picked the positive.
Yeah, love it. All in palette. I love it. Paused. What was the second one?
Ponder,
and then pick.
And pick the positive.
I love that.
Yeah. So that was my model, but I used that on the weekend, and it supported me, it sustained me. Then I got back this morning, mechanic, it's fixed, $700.
Yeah. Wow.
Could have been $5,000, could have been 10 grand. But
yeah. Just put it down to a senior's moment.
Very common.
Very common, because I didn't realize the nozzles would fit in the different things. But it's absolutely what you say is spot on. We all have a choice in how we choose to react to situations, and we can either be positive about it or take the pessimistic attitude towards it. And it's like everything in life. And how many times do we see people being pessimistic over even small things? And I like to use the catastrophe scale as a sort of a measure. The catastrophe scale they used to teach my kids at school. So the worst thing that would happen, top of the list, is number one is a death in the family, death of a parent, death of someone close to you. Forgetting your homework. Well, in the big picture, it's really down at an 8 or a 10. It's not really a huge thing on the catastrophe scale, but it's all about our choice of how we choose to perceive what's happened, the experiences that are challenging us or coming at us. And, having a positive outlook on life has so many benefits. And it's the same thing that we come across often. It reduces your stress, reduces cardiovascular disease, heart disease, improve your health, improve your outlook on life. But you actually improves relationships with other people too. When you're more optimistic, It strengthens relationships with people around you, strengthens personal relationships as well. Even if the partner is pessimistic, it still is strengthens relationship with one person who's optimistic, because they can help shift the other person up too, out of that low level energy sort of stuff.
It's interesting you talk about catastrophizing, because one of the things I often ask people, when they start with the pessimistic viewpoint, well, I say, well, what is the worst thing that can happen? Let's go through it. Let's talk about it.
Yep.
It's never that bad, even if that happens.
Yep.
So if I wreck my car, well, I then have the choice. I've got to repair it, or I've got to buy a new one. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. It's perspective and attitude, isn't it? Absolutely. Optimism in the workplace is also a huge thing. People are generally, or when they're more optimistic, they're happier with their work. They don't have so much time off. There's more productivity, fewer work complaints. Another thing about, I think it's really good, less time off, because it's just like, oh no, Monday-itis, it's okay. I need to pay the bills. I need to get to work and make the most out of it. And think, well,
or look at what is fun in your job. Look at what talent you use when you're at work. Look at the nice people you work with.
Yeah.
And then you've got long-term choices if you don't get many ticks there. For goodness sake. Like we had a receptionist here who joined for like 3 weeks, and now she's gone off to work for the public service. Left us in the lurch. There you go. Goes around, comes around. Harvard Health did a whole lot of really good article on optimism and health.
Yep.
And they cover many of the things you've talked about. They also identified that there was a long-term study of students, nearly 7,000 students, and they tracked them for 40 years. And they found that those who were optimistic were 42% less likely to die in that 40-year period, which is probably from 20 years to 60.
Yeah.
Massive difference.
Yeah, I saw that stat too. I wrote that one down. And optimists live 8 to 10 years longer than pessimists. 8 to 10 years.
Yeah. And the mechanism, one of the mechanisms is you've got lower levels of cortisol. So your body lasts better, your joints last better, your bones last better.
Less of that stress hormone racing through the body all the time, because you've actually wired your brain to think in a more positive way. So you're not releasing so much of that cortisol through your body. Cortisol is so damaging. Stress affects everybody.
So I did have a cortisol rush when I looked at that receipt and saw the unleaded petrol. But that galvanized me into action. I'd call the tow truck, and then the cortisol level.
Yeah, wow.
So it's for an emergency. It's not for normal daily life.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. It's like with the adrenaline rush. Just being optimistic, it improves your sleep. It decreases your chance of depression or feeling depressed, and it increases your all-over well-being. It's just like so many positives. And part of being optimistic is also understanding yourself a bit more, having the trust in yourself, or self-acceptance, accepting yourself for who you are, and realizing that you're just normal, like you with the wrong petrol in the car. It's just like, oh, well, don't beat yourself up too much, because part of being a pessimist is that you put yourself down as well. But when you're optimistic, you can talk yourself up and brush it off. It's like when you get knocked down, you just brush it off and get back up again, rather than staying in the pity party.
That's right. So what the mechanic said to me is, oh, I've almost done that myself.
Right.
Yeah. So it's empathizing. It was nice. But I look out the window now and I can hardly see any blue, so hardly any.
Oh, you've got
so if I look out there, I can think, oh no, it's cloudy. Or I can look and say, maybe we'll get some rain, which would feed the garden. That would be great.
Yeah, Canberra is so dry. That's frighteningly dry up there. Yeah.
But so there's always two ways of looking at it.
Absolutely.
It's cloudy,
back to
cold,
the class,
or
isn't it?
maybe it'll rain. Exactly.
Or,
Would you like
no, I'm not doing that. I'm not listening to you anymore, Harry. Oh, man. I had 3 steps too, different.
Oh, good. Love it.
But I like your 3 Ps better than mine. I've got 3 S's. So my steps were 1, stop and assess the situation. How good or bad is it really? Where does it sit on the catastrophe scale? 2, then stand with confidence that the situation can improve, and trust and believe things will get better, or it's not that bad. And then 3, satisfy your soul with a healthier mindset where you have way less stress and you're just actually happier. So stopping, standing, it's the way that you stand and carry yourself with confidence and understanding that things, and trust and believe, will get better, or it's not that bad. And then, do things that are satisfying you with less stress and bring you more happiness, because less stress is key, absolutely key.
Yeah, it's a killer.
It is a killer. Yeah, totally.
So there's a couple of wonderful books that
yes.
I've got off my bookshelf. One is a book by Martin Seligman, author of Authentic Happiness, and he wrote a wonderful book called Learned Optimism.
Right.
So this is a skill you can learn.
Yep, sure is.
And he's got a wonderful questionnaire in there on page 116 to assess how you are or not.
Really?
And interestingly, he also says in the book that antidepressants are not effective on young children.
Really?
They just don't work. Antidepressant drugs are ineffective before puberty, which is really interesting. He wrote this in 1997. He doesn't give a source for that, but I underlined that. That was really interesting. So this is a great book if you feel, well, look, he also asks 3 questions, in relation to this. So these are my 3 steps. Ask yourself, do I get discouraged easily? The second question is, do I get depressed more than I want to?
Yeah, good one.
And the third one is, do I fail more than I should? Depending on your answers to those questions, then you can maybe go out and borrow this book or buy it and, change your position on the optimism clock. And, he's saying in most cases you can use optimism productively unless, and these are the big unlesses, unless your plan is super risky. If it's super risky, don't be optimistic, be cautious.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose your house or your marriage or whatever. You're in a marriage, there's a pretty girl over there, it's okay to look, but don't be too
just window shopping. No.
Exactly. And if you're trying to empathize with somebody, optimism is not a really good strategy.
Why is that?
Well, I think because it may shift them into a place that's so far away from where they are. So I went down to the mechanic and I said, I've done this, I've been stupid. How stupid can you be? And then he said, well, I've almost done it myself. Whereas I went in and said, I've destroyed the car, it's all terrible. He wouldn't have responded like that. He would have said, well, we'll do our best, Yeah. So the other book is, and this leads into what we should talk about next week, which I think is happiness. But, like glass half full, glass half empty, it's really, another example is if you get poor grades, you can either respond and say, I'm stupid, or you can say, the teacher marked me unfairly.
Yep.
Which of course can happen. So there's always 2 ways of looking at any situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Always 2 ways. And that led into my model, which is not in palette, but it was on I am so wet here, Harry.
Just while you're in sunny Melbourne then.
Oh, sunny, yes, top of 2. No, it's a bit warmer than that.
That is so funny, Sally.
Everything's wet here.
On a video call together and you've wet yourself.
That's what you do to me, Harry. All right, so in my model today, it's there. We've got your mindset. If you get your mindset with a positive attitude and perceive, experiences or challenges in a more positive way, and then if you team that up with trusting and believing that it's only temporary and it's not the worst thing in the world, well, then you're going to be more relaxed. And then when you're trusting and believing that things aren't that bad or they can get better, and match that up with gratitude, grateful for, things that you've got already and that what you've got in your life, then you're ultimately going to be more happier. And then when you're sitting with gratitude for where you are right now and get the mindset shifted into a much more positive way, then you're going to have a lot less stress. And overall, you're going to have improved physical, mental, and emotional health.
And you're going to be happier.
Happier, absolutely. Less stress and lots more happiness and fun. And you'll have a lot more energy out of that as well, because all your energy won't be drawn up with being stressed. And as you said, you'll live longer. When you have less stress, you've got less cortisol in your body's loving you for it, and on all those different levels, physical, mental, emotional, spiritually as well, you're just going to be just feeling so much better and living longer, because you're not going to be drawn down and that shrinking, isolating energy of stress.
So I think the word you're looking for is more resilient.
Resilient. Love it.
So, you know, another few stats from Harvard, this resilience, that they did a study of over 400 adults after heart surgery, and optimistic patients had a third of the rate of complications afterwards. So that's after somebody's cut you open. Reduces cardiovascular disease by 55%. So it builds happiness. It also makes you more attractive. You're going to attract more people towards you. You're going to, you know, get better linkages, more social.
Well, you're radiating a much nicer energy. And that's it. And back on the patients, also the recovery rate was so much quicker when they're optimistic. Read that.
Definitely. Less likely to even suffer a common cold, the symptoms of a common cold when you're exposed to a virus.
Well, your thoughts and intentions, hey? That's where you place your energy, where your thoughts are, and that's what you become. You become what you think.
So have you got my photo on your bookcase behind you?
I need to have a pin-up boy of Harry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's do that. One of your nice stock photos, you know, from your website or something.
Yeah. I'll see that. Although I'm thinking I might reshoot them with the bow tie. I wore a bow tie at the funeral. It was a great hit.
Yeah. Well, it suits you. It suits your personality, Harry.
Yeah, I like the bow tie. Yeah. So glass half full is what I've entitled this.
Oh, me too. Snap. Oh, we're on the same page.
Good. Yeah. So this is fun. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and if you're not feeling optimistic, ask yourself this question: what's the worst thing that could happen to you? And it's usually not that bad.
It's not that bad. We've all got challenges and things, experiences, and as I said, it's all a choice. We have a choice about everything that happens to us, and which way are we going to go? More positive or more negative? It's all down to choice.
And the words we use, like catastrophizing. My mum would say, "Oh, this is a disaster," and some small thing went wrong. I'd say, "No, it's not, Mum. We'll just sort it out. Don't worry."
Yeah.
I remember once we took her out to a meal at Claude, and then took her to a movie, and she dropped her wine. You know, she spilled her wine everywhere, cold glass. She said, "Oh no, this is a disaster." And the waiter came out and took pity on her and gave her another full glass. So she actually got more wine.
So she ended up better off. Yeah, for sure. Well, I love today's topic, and so next week, do you want to do happiness?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And
something that resonates.
Yeah, again, I've got a lovely book called Happier.
You must have the world's biggest bookshelf.
Well, I did an advanced diploma on wellness, and every time we did a subject, I got a couple of books, and so I've got them.
Yeah. Right. Fantastic. Yeah. Wealth of knowledge. All righty. Well, I'll let you go. That was really good. I mean, you're one of the most optimistic people I know anyway. So that's
really?
I love
good.
Yeah, you're always optimistic. Even when it was snowing in Canberra the other week. But,
All good. Well, let's catch you next week, Sal.
Okay. See you later. Bye.
Okay.